I received a lot of emails from those who follow my YouTube channel and those who follow me on Twitter, those who see me for psychotherapy, wherever they find me, even those who contact me for consultations around the world. I've gotten one question over the past few days that has not only floored me, but I find myself not knowing what to tell all of the people who have asked me this question. The question is, why does a person commit suicide? Now, this video is not about suicide, but it does include a part of this video where I am going to highlight what happens to those who are feeling hopeless and helpless, and how do you deal with this? Now, the purpose of this video is to talk about reunification for the holiday. Should you force the holiday in your family? So I'm going to point out a couple of reasons why, you might want to second guess what you're thinking if you're thinking of reuniting, or if you've considered what it would be like. You may have walked away, maybe you're estranged, or maybe you're kicking yourself and just fighting the whole thing, having to see your family, consider your family, or even feel obligated to consider your family. That's one of the most difficult things to try to manage around holiday time. Even the family members that have wronged you, traumatized you, harmed you, manipulated you, right? You may find yourself ready to engage with them again, primarily because that's what we do this time of year, right? But for somebody who has an internal battle, it could be suicide. It could be, these wrestling of suicidal thoughts, I should say. It could also be depression and anxiety. It could be really missing somebody in your life, somebody that you've lost. It could also be unresolved trauma. The list goes on, right? For somebody like this, the holidays are a little bit difficult. And for the family members who have lost a loved one, whether to estrangement, to suicide, to anger, to family chaos, dysfunction, whatever, it's a loss. And the individual that I was referring to at the beginning of this video was Twitch. I'm going to post this picture right here just so that you can see it. Supposedly committed suicide or completed suicide recently. And the sad part about it is it's just within days of the holiday season. He leaves us with one question: why? And I'm going to point out a couple of things that, may not have impacted him, but severely impacts those that I counsel, those who consult with me, and those who are watching on my YouTube channel. Let me just briefly introduce myself in case you are new. My name is Tamra. I'm internationally and I'm board certified in trauma therapy. I'm licensed in mental health. I specialize in treating children, teens, and families, as well as adults who are dealing with trauma. Let's jump in. So, suicide has never been an easy topic for me. And it also isn't one of those topics I shy away from, because I recognize that suicide is an interesting debacle. It's not always about what we as human beings think it's about. There are a lot of components and dynamics around the issue of suicide. Even the suicides that are celebrity status, right? There's a lot of possible reasons why. There's a lot of dynamics to that whole act and that incident, and it leaves all of us feeling empty and helpless. The reason I am mentioning Twitch's suicide, what is supposedly a suicide completion, or a completion of suicide, I should say. There's a lot of different ways that you could say it. The reason that I'm mentioning this is because a lot of you have contacted me asking, do you think that he did this because of family tensions, because of family, chaos? Was there issues around holiday time? Did he lose somebody around holiday time that he misses? What exactly led to his suicide? My answer to that is this: we may never know. It's really difficult to figure out, why was that the only answer left? The way that I like to explain a suicide is this. A lot of you are probably well aware of the old-fashioned show Wheel of Fortune. And on the show Wheel of Fortune, you reach down, you spin the wheel, and you're looking for it to land on something that you wanted to land on, right? Well, in Wheel of Fortune, if you land on the wrong thing, your turn is out. You're bankrupt. You don't even can't get to go on to the next stage. You have to wait and let somebody else go. Well, suicide is kind of like a will, in that we live this life constantly wrestling with internal battles, external battles, existential issues, right? We also battle our own self-esteem. We battle what other people put us through. We battle the what ifs, the anxiety that goes along with that. We also battle, our spiritual sides, in a sense, right? What touches us deep down and what doesn't, and what do we believe in and what do we not believe in, right? So we're constantly wrestling in this life. Some people who are carrying the burden of anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, substance use or abuse, dependency, all of those different things. And there's many, many more, OCD, the list goes on. People who are struggling with that and carrying that burden may spin the wheel and go to bed, hoping that the next day would be a little bit different, hoping that the next day maybe something will get better. But it all depends on what that will is going to come up with, right? And so somebody who is feeling depressed and hopeless, despondent, angry, whatever, suicidal, having suicidal thoughts, whatever that will is, whatever the answer comes up for that will the next day is what they choose, right? And suicide really is a choice. It's a choice in the sense that that person is not doing well, and they can either choose the fork in the road. They can either choose to go left, which is I'm going to battle this thing out to the end, or they can choose to go right and say, I can no longer suffer, I got to get out of here. Or the mind collapses in such a way that there is no ability to see what they should do, right? There's this nebulous, cloudy reality for them. And so depending on that analogy or the Wheel of Fortune analogy, whatever they decide to choose in that moment is what they choose. And that's either based on clarity of mind, that they can't take it anymore, or it's based on incoherence and nebulous cloudiness of the mind, meaning they don't know how to see things. And so they're just going with what feels right in the moment. We may never know what happened to Twitch. We may never know why he chose that, right? But what we do know is that something was going on the inside, and he felt that was better, perhaps, at the moment than staying here. Sadly, those who are struggling with the holiday season this year are also most likely wrestling with negative thoughts, negative self-talk, right? I'm not good enough. I can't afford this. I'm not smart enough. My family doesn't love me. Why should I live, right? This Christmas doesn't feel the same. Nothing is ever going to be right again. All those negative thoughts and negative self-talk, depression, holiday anxiety, re-triggering of trauma, all of those things can be difficult during the holidays. And just the sound of Christmas music, just the sound of children and people and malls and shopping can all trigger a series of negative symptoms and behaviors. Some of those negative symptoms and behaviors may entail suicidal thoughts, self-harm, cutting, burning, punching yourself, harming yourself in some way. It may also entail reliving trauma, right? And also feeling re-traumatized in some ways. And it's all because the holiday is difficult to wrestle with. It is really and truly considered the most beautiful time of the year. And yet so many people suffer. And I think that's because there's a fairy tale that goes along with the holidays, right? There's a fairy tale that goes along with family. There's a fairy tale that goes along with celebrating with your family and sticking close to your family and friends. And unfortunately, that fairy tale is not available for all of us. And that can sometimes lead to suicidal thoughts, worsening depression, re-traumatization, and the list goes on. So consider this, guys. So let's say, for example, you are dealing with, you're wrestling with, or you're dealing with challenges of, should I reunite with my family? Well, That's a question that you may want to study for a little bit. Let's say you've walked away from your family, you're estranged from your family. Should you bring them in and reel them in during this holiday season because it's the holidays? Some people feel like, okay, I haven't spoken to you in decades, but it's the holidays, so I'm going to reach out to you and you better reach out to me, right? But you don't want to do that because that may be the worst decision of your life. You want to consider that the holiday season is only here for what, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month or so, and then we're all going to go back to our normal lives in January. Do you really want to have to connect with family who's dysfunctional, unhealthy, only to detach once the holidays are over, right? So there's a lot of things that you're likely wrestling with, even wrestling with the sadness and the depression of you cannot connect with your family. Even that is hard to deal with, right? The realization that there is no connection, that it is broken, or they're not going to treat me like I want them to treat me. That in and of itself is a grievous process, just processing all of that in your mind. There are a few questions, there's 4, that I suggest most of my clients, and I suggest that you ask yourself during this time of year if you're struggling with the reality that, you're going to have to either deal with and put up with your family, or you're not going to have them at all, okay? The first question is, will I feel the same after the holiday? Will I feel the same in January, right? Will I feel like I need to be close to my family? Will I feel like I love my family? Will I feel like, we're going to be friends and we're going to be together again? Will I feel the need to connect with them after the holiday is over? The next question you want to ask yourself is, will this reduce the new strength and independence that I have obtained, that I've gotten? Will this reduce me in some way? Will I lose all of the progress apart from them that I have gained, right? And, does this person truly love and care about me? And if they say they do, do I see that evidence, right? And you also want to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this, right? Why am I feeling overwhelmed and depressed by the reality that I'm not connected with my family? Why am I allowing myself to consider being a part of them again if I know that they're only going to hurt me again, right? So these 4 self-exploration questions can kind of help navigate and steer how you're seeing things, right? Especially, and most importantly, if you are from a family that's narcissistic and sociopathic, unhealthy, traumatic, dysfunctional, toxic. So let me highlight some of the things that this holiday can do. I think Christmas is one of the loveliest times of the year, and I've always loved Christmas. I've always loved Christmas music. I love being together with my, close-knit family, those I trust and love and really can respect and adore. But for some reason this year, I think it's just really different for me. It's different for my family. It's different for my clients, and it's different for those of you who have been on this channel for so many years, supporting me, and those who are new even to the channel. It's a different feeling in the air this year, right? So I've been talking a lot to my clients about how to manage this. So here's a couple of things that you want to think about in terms of engaging in this holiday if you don't feel like you need to or you want to. You want to really keep your eyes open to the fact that this holiday can really bring up the reality of repressed emotions and repressed memories. We sometimes push our pain down so much that it's almost non-existent until the holidays come, and then the emotions come up almost at surface level. And it's difficult to decide what you need to do, what you want to do, right? And it also becomes a battle of the mind. Sometimes trauma is right there in the forefront of your mind because your emotions and the trauma that you've repressed and the memories are up here because of holiday time. Holiday time can really trigger trauma. And so you want to be aware of that. You want to also be aware of the fact that you can become re-traumatized during the holiday season. Having these repetitive negative thoughts about yourself and your family and the trauma that you've experienced can open a wound. It's like picking at a sore, right? And from Thanksgiving to New Year's, right? Consider what that sore is going to look like. And so sometimes you can get re-traumatized because of that. You also want to consider that sometimes there are family members who get stirred during this time of year as well, because while you may be struggling with trauma and being, separate from your family and estranged, those family members who don't have you in their life anymore anymore may start feeling like they want to manipulate the situation, or they may start gossiping, or they may start triangulating, right? So you may be okay over here, whereas those family members that you're no longer in contact with may get stirred up during this time of year, because again, it's all about family, and so you're probably going to be on their mind. Your decision and your freedom is to decide what you're going to do about that, right? If anything at all. You also want to consider that this time of year doesn't necessarily have to be a negative time of the year for you. It can be an opportunity to recreate what this holiday means to you. You can kind of create new and healthy dynamics. You can create a different way to view the holiday. You can create new traditions. You can create things for yourself that's healing and replenishing, and that's not going to drain you. You want to also consider too that, the development of negative self-talk, depression, anxiety, seasonal affective disorder, PTSD can all happen during Christmas time, because here's what happens. Usually the closer we get to New Year's, we start reflecting, and sometimes we start reflecting on things that happened way back there, right? Or sometimes the brain starts to feel safe enough to explore our previous traumas, and then everything is just brought up again for you, right? And that can sometimes lead to worsening depression, worsening anxiety, right? Re-traumatization, the list goes on. This is a topic that I don't talk a lot about on my channel, but I love to give you a spiritual, existential based video every now and then. And that's what you got here in this video. Let me know in the comment section how you're feeling right now, whether it's about Twitch or whether it's about the holiday season and how you're dealing with this. And if you are struggling with any kind of negative thoughts or suicidal thoughts, I encourage you to please reach out to the Suicide Crisis Hotline. As a mental health professional, as a psychotherapist, I just can't leave this video without, encouraging that. And I'm going to post it in the description box below for you as well. Thank you so much for being with me in today's video, guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and bell button if you want to stick around for more videos like this and for different topics. We have a whole bunch of topics coming up in January. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.